You are listening to episode 27 of the EU Startups podcast. Today with Taster founder and CEO Anton Soulier, who's building the world's largest restaurant group based on a digital platform.
So hello and welcome to another episode of the EU Startups podcast. Today we are joined by Anton, who is the founder and CEO of Taster, a delivery-first restaurant that's redefining the taste and experience of delivery food. It's currently operating about 118 kitchens out of 60 major cities across Europe, including the hubs of London, Paris, Madrid and Brussels. They actually just expanded to Barcelona in July 2022, and they're hoping to expand really rapidly here and get in on the thriving delivery scene that we have in Barcelona. The firm uses a franchise model where they partner with different restaurants and kitchen owners, and that really has allowed them to tap into the takeaway market, which is thriving. And I know that Anton will be able to share a lot more details about that in this conversation, so I'm personally looking forward to hearing more about that. So welcome, Anton. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, Patricia.
And so just to get started, could you maybe share us a bit about your entrepreneurial journey to start off with? So you started out in the delivery sector working for Deliveroo, where you spearheaded the movement into France, and then obviously you founded Taster. So could you tell us a bit about your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always been passionate about food. I started my career in finance. It was great, but it was also a bit boring. So I decided to create my own kind of like food startup back in 2013 for about a year. It was very challenging back then, and it's where I met the delivery team at the very, very beginning. I decided to join when we were like less than 10 people, and obviously it's been like an unbelievable ride because of like the success of Deliveroo. I had a chance to launch France, which became like very quickly like the second biggest market. And I became a deputy general manager for France. So I had like a pretty exciting career there. So it all allows me to work with like a ton of restaurants, working with a lot of like expansion topics in France, but we've also like built a lot of the playbook for Deliveroo from France. So it's really where I also like obviously came up with the idea of Taster, because, like talking to restaurants, seeing also like from a consumer perspective, the pain points really helped me kind of like building the proposition.
Interesting. And so you obviously have a lot of experience in the food delivery sector. Is there anything particularly within this market that interests you? What is it that attracted you to this sector?
Yeah, the reason why I decided to create Taster was to really create a better delivery experience, a better brands, really kind of like digitally native food brands, and really think about like the delivery side of the experience. Back in 2017, I think for restaurants, food delivery or delivery was like an afterthought. So they weren't like putting a lot of attention, a lot of focus in the experience. And the experience was very often like very disappointing. I really decided to kind of like tackle that, to really focus on designing the menus, creating the brands with amazing chef, leveraging kind of like Instagram, YouTube, Facebook back then to create kind of like digitally native food brands. And I think that's how we decided to tackle this model. The other thing I would say is, like we all know that food delivery is kind of like a small margin model, and I was like really interested and passionate about how can we create more values out of the delivery. So it's also like how we decided or thought about like how can we use like technology to run like more profitable operations, to kind of like scale the brand like geographically. So that was like the two challenges that really excited me in this model. And I think finally, like, food delivery is like a huge market. Currently, it's like $200 billion market globally. It's planned to be like a $500 billion in 2025. People are eating like 3 times a day. And basically, the way we are seeing this business going is more and more people will basically like stop cooking from home and they will like order more and more. So it's like a growing market because, you know, all the habits have changed and everything. So that what makes it like very exciting and very interesting.
Absolutely. I think definitely, you know, the habits and behaviors that we have across society, across Europe, has changed so much in terms of how we approach food, and food delivery is definitely one of the most fastly growing sectors in food industry. So one thing you mentioned there was how you really leverage things like Instagram and YouTube and content to market Taster. Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about how you leverage content?
Yeah, absolutely. To give you a very concrete example, we launched a new brand of like American fried chicken brand in November with the biggest like food YouTuber in Europe, and basically is very known for his like amazing recipes. He's been kind of doing this for like 10 years, so he's been really pioneering YouTube initially, but then obviously Instagram and TikTok. He has like 2 million followers on Instagram. And actually, he has like an amazing kind of like base of huge fans that are like following him. But they were kind of like expecting to have a kind of like a product, you know, like out of these videos and everything. So we decided to collaborate together to allow him to basically have a channel to offer his food, the food that he's been cooking for 10 years, to his fans. And it's been a huge success, but basically like way above our like craziest expectations. Because when we launched, I think the first week we were like totally out of stock. Like basically the first hours, the brand. So because of like our platform and our model, we managed to scale these brands across like 10, 15, 20 cities like very quickly, and like the brand became the second biggest like fried chicken brand in France, just just behind KFC. So we are like the second biggest one, and I mean it's been like an incredible success when you think that we launched this brand basically like 6 months ago. So it's really kind of like using this mechanism and the power of Instagram and the creators that we are really creating relevant content, exciting content. That can basically live outside of like the delivery platforms as well.
Interesting. So kind of leveraging the kind of the influencers of the day on social media to then they share across their platforms and their audiences. And do you see that as a strategy that you'll continue in terms of your marketing plan?
Yeah, I think I really see a lot of analogies between kind of like the food industry that is like very online when you think about it, basically like food.
I mean, I sit on TikTok and Instagram and watch videos of which restaurants we go to all the time, like.
But yeah, I think there is a lot of analogy, I think, with the fashion industry. And when you think about it, it's kind of like collaborations have always existed. I think kind of like when you like a lot of fashion brands kind of like jumped on kind of like e-commerce back in like the 2000, and I think food was really behind. So what we can see now is kind of like food is catching up, and we can see like more and more of this type of partnership with amazing chef creators that are like very, very successful. So it's been very inspiring for us. So we had this great success with fast food cuisine, the one I mentioned, and we decided to do more actually. So we launched another burger brand with one of the coolest or craziest food influencer in the UK, and it's been also like a great success. So we really believe in this kind of collaborations because these creators are also like bringing their story. They have the expertise of creating amazing food. So for us, it's a very exciting territory to create truly differentiated brands as well.
Interesting. And I guess it also kind of connects into a wider community and brings people, the consumers, into the product a little bit more and really connects
Absolutely. I think we really see like our brands, not just being, like convenience. We want to create a kind of like emotional connection with the brands, and we want people to be kind of like truly excited about the story behind the brands, to be truly excited about how we make our menus, which suppliers we are working with, and that's how you can also like build this very 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 exciting connection.
Great. And so another interesting thing about Taster, alongside this marketing approach, is the unique franchise model that you guys operate. Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about how that works and what makes it so special?
Yeah, very early in our journey, we decided to build a lot of processes, protocols, and technology around the operation. So we started by operating our own kitchens because we needed to learn like how to create best-in-class playbook to basically like cook food and deliver an amazing quality. But very quickly, we realized that if we wanted to scale from say like 2-3 locations to 2,000, the franchise model was basically very obvious for us. So we started to talk with like guys like Domino's, McDonald's, and we started to think about like how our model can be applied to the franchise model. And for us, it was like really, really obvious that it would work very, very well. So we decided to kind of like evolve the business toward like a B2B2C model just before COVID. It was back in 2020. We signed up our first franchise in Paris. And since then, obviously, we've been like only focusing on the franchise model. And what we can see is we are, as I said at the beginning, we are, I think, solving a problem for like the consumer because they are having a much better experience than what you can find on the market. But we also like find that we could kind of like solve the restaurant's problem because a lot of them, they were like struggling to make money on delivery. They didn't know where to start. So we decided to partner up with them to offer them our brands that were like already very successful, our playbook, our protocols, like all our recipes and everything, and the technology, and allowing them basically to thrive in the delivery era. And it's been, I would say, very successful. I mean, it's been, it's only been like 2 years since we've done that, and we have now 120 franchises across 4 countries. So we've been like scaling a lot, and we've obviously like seen a lot of traction in this kind of like model. So it's really exciting as well because we can really focusing on kind of like creating truly iconic brands, really focusing on building amazing technologies, but obviously like working with franchisees partners is also like helping us to tap into like more and more cities in a much quicker way than if we would do ourselves.
Interesting. And what I'm seeing is like a common thread here in the different business strategies that you've had that have made Taster so successful to date is this kind of pursuit of collaboration and building partnerships and working alongside people. So whether it's working alongside social media influencers or working alongside franchises, it seems to be really a model of collaboration that underpins a lot of your strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly that. We're really a platform, I would say. We are really connecting, creating like collaborators with us, creating amazing brands and menu. We have like obviously chefs in the teams that are designing the menus, but we're also kind of like partnering up with restaurants and franchisees that are really kind of like cooking the menus and everything. So that's exactly that. It's like no capex light platform, I would say. And there is another element as well that we are leveraging is supply chain because we've also built a network of suppliers that are kind of like delivering the ingredients to a franchisee as well. So I would say it's almost like a tripartite organization when we have like the brand, the partners, the franchisee, and the supply chain.
Interesting, great. And so Taster obviously offers these digital restaurants, which maybe sounds a little bit foreign to people who aren't in the industry. So what exactly are digital restaurants? How would you describe these?
Yeah, I think so. Like the way we are really describing digital restaurants, it's a brand that has been designed to be online. It's really how we see it. When we open like Deliveroo or Uber Eats, you can see the basically Outfry, A-Burgers, all our brands. We define these brands as a digital restaurants. Together, like basically what we can see now, however, is that more and more we are considering our kind of like location as kind of like Taster store. So we have like more and more kind of like physical locations. That's where people can kind of like collect as well their food and everything. So we can see even in the model we are building that there is like more and more link between the digital world and the physical world. So now we are almost kind of like considering stores or shops rather than kind of like digital restaurants. That is a bit abstract.
Interesting. I think it's absolutely fascinating. And so, I mean, do you think that this is the future? The digital restaurant is the future, and it's how people are going to enjoy restaurant quality food?
Yeah, I mean, one of our kind of like thesis from day one has been that the restaurant industry in general is splitting into kind of like two categories. On one side, you have like the traditional restaurants that are going to focus on like experience, that are going to focus on like great locations. I mean, when you eat out with friends, with families, you want to have like a great experience, and you are not really kind of like arbitrating between going out on a restaurant or ordering from home. However, there is like an entire category that is like quick selling restaurants, fast food category, that doesn't really need to be kind of like offline. That doesn't need to have like prime location anymore, because I mean, like now nobody's going out like on a Saturday with friend into a kind of like fast food or anything like that. More and more like people prefer to enjoy this type of experience from home. So the way we are addressing that is by putting a bit of like, I would say like less focus on the locations, but having kind of like very convenient kitchen or stores that can also like do some click and collect, but primarily delivery. So that's, I think, the biggest change that is happening. However, what we can see more and more is customers going to these stores, going to these kitchens to collect the food directly, because they want to have like almost a connection with the brand. They want to see like where the cook is, where the food is cooked. And obviously there is also like a saving, because they don't have to pay for like the delivery fee. So they are going directly on the site. So the way we've really evolved the model is by having more and more of these locations. So now across our 120 locations, about 30% are kind of like taster, like really kind of like taster kitchens with like a great facade and everything.
Interesting. It's very interesting for sure to see how these patterns have changed. And I think you tapped onto an important point there, that it's a different culture, whether you're going out for the location or whether you're just you want the quality food and you want to have the time with your friends, your family, you want the connection. So I think as well that also ties into your point about brand and connecting the consumers to the brand that you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now you were saying earlier as well, you operating about 200 digital restaurants across Europe. So obviously you've had quite a rapid international expansion since being founded in 2017. So could you tell us a little bit about that plan, the strategy? How did you go about this growth?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, we believe like high quality food, great brands shouldn't be only for people living in capitals. So our strategy has always been to go outside of the biggest cities, the capital, and to offer like this great experience to more people in secondary cities, because we know there is a lack of quality, there is a lack of diversity in these cities. So it was really our ambition to go without talking about countries, to go very deep in secondary cities. So when you take cities like France, we are obviously covering the big secondary cities, Lyon, Nantes, but we are also like going deeper. We are in Colmar, in Dunkerque, really like smaller cities, and we can see like a huge success in these cities because we are really offering this type of diversity. So that's like the first part of our strategy, is to go really deep in each country. In Spain, for example, we focused for a long time in Madrid because we wanted to crack Madrid, which is a very exciting but also like very competitive market. And now we've really made a breakthrough in Madrid, and we decided because we have the confidence that our products can sell very well in Spain, to kind of like launch Barcelona, that we launched relatively recently, and we're actually in the process of launching more location in Barcelona with more of our brands. And we're also like obviously targeting more cities in Spain. So we are looking at Valencia, Bilbao, Sevilla. That's really how we are seeing our growth. In terms of kind of like country expansion. We're exploring different countries at the moment. There are like great opportunities, but that's really our approach. When we launch a country, we want to be available very quickly in all like all the main cities, not only the capital.
Interesting. So it's about it's hyper localization in a way. You're kind of very much focusing in on each individual city and the patterns and the behaviors that you have there. So would you have any like specific tips for a similar startup or company or anybody who wanted to expand across markets?
Yeah, I think it's really like not rushing things up. I think it's very because I have the experience of kind of like international expansion from Deliveroo or even like Taster. And I think like going step by step is really the right way forward, kind of like cracking the city, making sure the products, either it's food or any other countries can sell. And then you can see like a traction before like scaling to another country. Very often, like startups are not like prepared enough and they're rushing to kind of like launch more countries because you can think you're going to grow your top line by being like everywhere, but sometimes it's better to make sure you have the right kind of like fit and the right product before scaling too fast.
Great, thank you. And so obviously as well, Taster has really been pioneering the food delivery sector. What kind of models and business models do you see happening in the future for this sector?
I mean, obviously, we are very bullish with our own model. I think it's we see more and more of like when you think about like the food delivery market, we see we see more and more traction around kind of like light capex, like light model. I think there is already a lot of kind of like kitchens available. There is a lot of space to kind of like change the way people actually cook food. And I think the new models now are going to really focus on kind of like linking a bit as we did, but like linking these kitchens, the food producers to the customers. So I think that's going to be like the model that we are going to see kind of like popping up now. We're also like seeing a lot of traction with click and collect, which is also like very exciting. I think people are now kind of like keen to go directly on the retail. I think they almost like rediscover the retail experience.
You can see as well like where the food's being made and where it's coming from, so it's not like a mystery.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really that. It's exactly kind of like reconnecting with the production area, and I think that's also like a very exciting opportunity here. And it's really how I can see the model going. And we also saw obviously like there is a bit of like an economic crisis, so it's also a great way to kind of like make savings because like you don't have to pay for logistics and everything. So we clearly see like a huge trend around click and collect. We even saw it at Taster, to be honest. We see without any specific marketing, we see the portion of kind of like click and collect and takeaway growing totally organically because people are more and more open again to walk 5-10 minutes to get their food directly.
Great. So as well, one topic that is massively trending across sectors is sustainability, and it's something that startups, corporates, everyone is super aware of at the moment. How exactly is Taster approaching sustainability?
Yeah, so first we always, like from day one, we decided not to have any plastic in our packaging, and we also like decided to limit the number of packaging. We want to have like as little packaging as possible. We really focus on craft. Everything is recyclable, which is very important. Again, I remember like before I launched Taster, an experience when I ordered from like a very famous restaurants, and I ended up with like 10 different plastic containers, and I was embarrassed because
it's so unnecessary as well. Part of the time,
it was honestly a terrible experience because I didn't know what to do with all these plastic containers. Obviously, the food was warm, but I never order again. So that's why we decided to focus on craft, recyclable packaging. We've always decided to also work with local food producers, especially when it comes to proteins. So in the UK, we are working with British farmers. France is coming from France, and Spain, same thing. So we want to basically limit like the transportation of goods and really focusing on local producers. And finally, I really see like technology helping us managing our waste. We've developed like forecast algorithm. We've developed like a ton of technology that really allow our franchisee to limit our food waste to the really minimum. So we don't need to kind of like throw food after the shift and everything, which is also like very, very important, because when you think about the number of waste that is happening in the food industry, sometimes it's a bit scary. So it's really our contribution as well to this as well. That's really like the three strands we are seeing ourselves kind of like tackling like sustainability in this model.
Great. It's great to hear, because as you said, like the food industry, the amount of waste is quite incredible, and also the air miles and the carbon emissions when produce isn't coming from local sources. So it's great to hear that these aspects are super embedded within the business plan, and it's obviously working.
No, absolutely.
So just kind of follow up. So you have just expanded into Barcelona and just made another stop in another city. What else does the future have in store for Taster? Because I'm sure it's exciting things.
Yeah, absolutely. We are really, our ambition is to become like the McDonald's of the 21st century. So we want to be like the biggest restaurant group. We are like expanding very fast. So both like geographically, as I said, we are just started in Spain, but we can see like very, very good success so far. So we're gonna go deeper and deeper in our current markets. And then I said, we are looking at other kind of like opportunities in Europe and maybe outside of Europe. Our model is kind of like really scalable. We are working like hand in hand with like the delivery platform as well. So they are also like helping us to expand. And finally, we want to offer like better and better experience to the customer. We want to offer like more diversity as well. So we are working on more brands that are going to complete our portfolio. I cannot say anything now, but we are launching our biggest brand ever, with like one of the biggest food celebrity in the world in September, October. So that's going to be very exciting as well. So that's the near and the longer future, I would say.
Wonderful. I can't wait to hear more about it going forward and see what happens in September.
Definitely.
Well, thank you. So thank you so much, Anton, for joining us today. This has been a really great chat, really great discussion. It's been a privilege to have your time.
Great. Thank you very much as well.